Hello, Honors Chemistry, and welcome to Lecture 3, Operations with Scientific Notation. So previously we talked about how to express numbers as scientific notation, right? And what it means if things have negative or positive exponents. Now we're going to talk about what to do when we are trying to do math with pieces of scientific notation, right? So first, let's talk about multiplication and division. If we are trying to do a multiplication, right? So for example here, right? If we have 3 times 10 to the 5th times 2 times 10 to the second, right? First, right, we need to remember that this is one phrase, basically, and this is one phrase, right? And if I'm going to multiply them, what that means is I'm going to take these numbers out front, and I'm going to multiply those, right? And then for the scientific notation part, I'm going to add the exponents, which means this becomes 10 to the 7th. So 6 times 10 to the 7th. So again, when we are multiplying pieces of scientific notation, we multiply the numbers out front, and we add the exponents. So how to enter this on your calculator? Well, we got to be careful because our natural tendency is to just start typing. And if we don't pay attention, we'll realize, uh-oh, we have typed it all as exponents. And when we hit the enter button, we are going to get the wrong answer, right? So then we would try again and we would use parentheses, right? Each phrase, right, each piece of scientific notation needs to be in its own set of parentheses, right? And we need to make sure we exit the parentheses. And as long as we do that correctly, when we push enter, we should get the right number, right? And note that is exactly what we got when we did our work on the other page, right? Finally, we have this little button down here that says EE. When we type the E on our calculator, what that means is times 10 to the. And it means you don't even need parentheses because it's going to lump it together as its own phrase, which is going to make life easier for you. And then it'll spit the answer out in scientific notation for you. And I feel like it's a win-win if we learn how to use that key at the right time and the right way. So just something to think about. All right, now back to doing math the normal way. Now, if we were dividing, right, then what that means is we will divide the numbers out front. So 8 divided by 2 is 4, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract the scientific notation, right? So 4 minus 8 gives me -4, yes? So I get 4 times 10 to the -4. Anytime we divide pieces of scientific notation, we subtract. All right. And then if we were to raise something to a power, right? So first let's just talk about what to do, right? What that means is I would take that 3 and I would apply it here, right? So 5 raised to the 3rd, which would mean 5 times 5 times 5, which would be 125, times 10 to the, and what I do here is I multiply, right? So I'm going to get 3 times 3 is going to give me my exponent here, and 3 times 3 is, right, 9. So 125 times 10 to the 9th, right? And if we think about what this means to be raised to the 3rd, what that means is I have 5 times 10 to the 3rd times 5 times 10 to the 3rd times 5 times 10 to the 3rd, right? So that it makes sense if I'm multiplying all of them, all I'm doing is I'm adding these 3 3's together, which is why it's 3 times 3, right? As opposed to raised to the power, right? And that's how I get that. And then obviously we can then rewrite that in proper scientific notation, right? Because currently the decimal place is here and we need it to go 2 places further back. So then this would become 1.25 times 10 to the 11th. Yes? All right. Fantastic. Well, let's do some practice. Note, these are for you to try, so go ahead and pause, work them, and check them, right? If you are pretty confident, I would recommend that you pause, work all of them, and then check your answers, right? And listen to the solutions as needed, right? If you are not very confident with your scientific notation, what I would recommend is pause, maybe work one, watch the solution. Pause, work the next one, watch the solution. Yes, does that make sense? But you should do what is the best fit for you. All right. First one says 1.9 times 10 to the negative fifth times 5 times 10 to the fifth, right? So again, we multiply these parts out front. So 1.9 times 5, right, is going to give me 9.5 times 10 to the, and I'm going to take these and I'm going to add them, which gives me 0. So really, that just means 9.5, right? Okay. And then next one, I have 6.22 times 10 to the 23rd times 2 times 10 to the second, right? So 6.022 times 2, right, is going to give me 12.044 times 10 to the, and again, I'm going to add those together, 25th, right? Next up, it says I've got 3.4 divided by 6.626, and that's going to give me 0.513, and I'm going to subtract those, so that's going to say negative 19 minus negative 34, which means, correct, plus 34, which gives us that, right? And again, thinking about how to manipulate our scientific notation, right? If this is here, and I need it to be here, right, then that means I'm going to have to adjust this, right? So this is going to be 5.13 times 10 to the 14th, right? As in now I have to move one place less than I did previously. All right, and next one, again, I will divide those, right? So 3 divided by 7.5, which gives me 0.4 times 10 to the 8 minus negative 9, which is 17, right? And again, I can write that in proper scientific notation, 4 times 10 to the 16th. Now, for all of these raised to a power, right? So it'd be 4 raised to the negative third power, right? Which is 0.0156 times 10 to the negative 5 times negative 3, which is, right, 15th. And then we would want to adjust this, so we'd move this here and then here, so 1.56 times 10 to the 13th, all right? Now we have, so 4 times 4 times 4, so we got 64 times 10 to the now negative 15th, right? And we have to adjust this back to there, right? So then that becomes 6.4 times 10 to the negative 14th, because it moves one less place to get to where it needs to go, right? And here we have 9 times 10 to the 4th raised to the 1/2. What does that mean? Right, raised to the 1/2 is the exact same thing as saying square root, right? That's what raised to the 1/2 power means, right? So square root of 9 is 3, right? And raised to the 1/2 just means I multiply the 1/2 times the 4, which gives me that. All right, thank you for listening. Be good, and stay tuned for the next one. All right, have a good day. Bye.